Imagine waking up every single trash day, only to find your garbage can mysteriously knocked over and rolling down the street. At first, I thought it was the wind, maybe even raccoons. But nope, the truth was much worse. It was my neighbor. Not just any neighbor, the self-appointed HOA queen who decided my trash can was a crime against humanity. And let me tell you, she didn't just nudge it, she shoved it hard, week after week, with this smug little smirk like she was saving the neighborhood from me. I tried being nice. I tried talking it out, but nothing worked. So I did the only thing left. I set a trap. And when she fell for it, well, let's just say it was the wettest, loudest, most satisfying trash day this street had ever seen. This is the story of how I turned the tables on my HOA Karen, and trust me, you're going to want to hear every second of it. You ever wake up on trash day, open your front door and see your garbage can tipped over in the middle of the street? Yeah, that was my reality, and not just once, not twice, every single week. At first, I thought it was the wind. I mean, hey, sometimes a gust can push those things over, right? But then I noticed something weird. My neighbor's cans, perfectly upright. My can, on its side like it had just lost a fight with Mike Tyson. And the kicker? Sometimes it was shoved halfway down the block like someone had gone out of their way to make sure I had to chase it like an idiot. Now my neighborhood has one special character. You probably already know who I'm talking about. Every neighborhood has one. The person who takes the HOA rules more seriously than the actual government laws. Ours went by the name Karen. And oh, she lived up to it. Karen was the type who knew every single rule in our HOA handbook. And I don't mean she skimmed it once. I mean, she had it memorized. I'm convinced she kept it on her nightstand and read it before bed like a bedtime story. You know how normal people wake up, drink coffee, and maybe scroll their phones? Karen woke up and thought, whose life can I ruin today by enforcing subsection 13B about lawn edging? Her personal vendetta? Trash cans. She believed, with the passion of 1,000 suns, that trash cans should never be visible. According to her, you could only roll them out the exact second the garbage truck was about to turn onto the street, and you had to pull them back in before the truck's taillights even disappeared. Otherwise, you were, in her eyes, a criminal. Now, look, I'm not lazy. I don't leave my trash can out for days. But sometimes, you know, life happens. I might roll it out the night before pickup if I know I'll be busy in the morning. Or maybe I get stuck in traffic and can't bring it back in right away. Normal stuff, reasonable stuff. But to Karen, that was basically the equivalent of spray, painting graffiti across her garage door. So what did she do when she thought I was breaking the rules? She didn't send a polite note. She didn't ring the doorbell. Nope. She marched right over, shoved my trash can like it owed her money, and left it lying there in the gutter. And the worst part? She did it with this smug little smirk like she was performing some heroic act for the neighborhood. I actually caught her once out of the corner of my eye. She strutted up in her oversized sunglasses, pushed my can with one hand, dusted her palms off like she'd just completed hard labor, and then walked away. Proud as could be. I'll admit, at first I let it slide. I figured maybe she was just having a bad week. We all have those, right? But then it kept happening. Every week. And it got bolder. One morning, I opened my door just in time to see my trash can roll right past me, down the driveway, and into the street, thanks to Karen's oh-so-helpful shove. I had to sprint after it, barefoot, while my neighbors watched from their porches. Talk about embarrassing. That was the moment it clicked. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't the wind. This was her. And she wasn't going to stop. She had turned my trash can into her personal enemy. And me? I realized if I didn't do something. Soon, trash day was going to keep being trashy. All right, so after chasing my trash can down the street like it was in some kind of garbage-themed marathon, I knew I had to do something about Karen. But here's the problem. If you've ever dealt with a full-powered HOA Karen, you already. No direct confrontation is like throwing gasoline on a fire. They live for conflict. It gives them energy. They wake up in the morning craving it like coffee. Still, I figured I'd try the polite neighbor approach first. Maybe, just maybe, if I came at this with a smile, we could squash it before it turned into World War trash. So one sunny afternoon, I spotted Karen strutting down the sidewalk with her little dog. You know, one of those tiny yappy ones that think they're wolves but couldn't scare a squirrel. She had her giant sunglasses on, her clipboard tucked under her arm, and that look on her face like she was on patrol for crimes against humanity. I waved, plastering the biggest, friendliest smile I could manage. "Hey, Karen," I called out in my best neighborly voice. She paused, tilted her head slightly, and gave me that tight-lipped grin people use when they're pretending to be polite but really don't want to talk to you. Her dog barked twice, probably just picking up on her energy. I walked closer and said, "Funny thing, my trash can keeps ending up knocked over. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?" Now, I swear to you, I was ready for her to deny it. Maybe pretend she hadn't noticed. Maybe even blame the wind. But nope. Karen didn't even blink. She slid her sunglasses down. The bridge of her nose looked me dead in the eye and said, "Well, maybe if you actually followed the HOA rules, you wouldn't have that problem." Excuse me? That was it. No denial, no hesitation. She basically admitted it, and then blamed me for her actions. Classic Karen move. I was stunned for a second, but she didn't give me time to reply. She tugged her dog's leash, smirked, and strutted off like she had just won some invisible battle. And that's when it hit me. Talking wasn't going to work. Logic wasn't going to work. She wasn't interested in compromise. She was interested in control. To her, I wasn't a neighbor. I was just another rule breaker she needed to put in line. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I replayed her words in my head all day. Maybe if you actually followed the rules. Like, who even says that out loud? But at the same time, I realized she had just given me the green light. If she thought she could knock over my trash can whenever she felt like it, then I was officially free to get creative. So I went home, sat on my porch with a notebook, and started brainstorming. I wasn't just going to defend my trash can. I was going to make sure Karen regretted ever laying a hand on it. This wasn't a neighborly disagreement anymore. This was the beginning of Operation Trash Trap. After that little showdown with Karen, I knew one thing for sure. Talking wasn't going to solve anything. If words could have fixed it, we'd be shaking hands and laughing about silly misunderstandings. But no, this was bigger. This was personal. Karen had made my trash can her sworn enemy, and by extension, me. And if I didn't do something about it, trash day was just going to keep turning into humiliation day. So I started planning. Now, my first thought was obvious: cameras. A nice security camera pointed at the driveway would catch her red-handed. But then I remembered. Karen practically was the HOA. If I marched in there with video proof, she'd just spin it around and say I was harassing her. She'd probably fine me for daring to record her. Cameras would only get me evidence. I didn't want evidence. I wanted results. That's when my brain started ticking in a different direction. Instead of catching her in the act, what if I set things up so the act caught her? Something subtle, something she'd never see coming, something that would make her think twice before ever touching my trash can again. So, I pulled out my notebook and started jotting down ideas. Glue the lid shut? Too obvious, plus I'd just make life harder for myself. Sprinkle flour around the can to catch her footprints? Cool detective move, but again, no real payoff. Electrify it? Yeah, probably illegal. Next idea. Then it hit me. Water. Nobody likes being sprayed when they're not expecting it. And Karen? Oh, she seemed like the type who'd hate getting her perfectly pressed outfit soaked. So I hopped online and did some research. After a few hours of YouTube tutorials and some late-night shopping cart clicks, I had my plan. I ordered a brand new heavy-duty trash can. But this wasn't just any trash can. This was going to be the Karen-proof trash defense system 3000. The next few evenings, while Karen was inside watching whatever HOA people watch on TV, I was outside in my garage with tools, hoses, and a grin on my face. I rigged up a simple but brilliant mechanism, motion-triggered sprinklers. I attached a garden hose around the rim of the can, installed small nozzles pointing outward, and connected everything to a motion sensor. The moment someone got too close and tried to mess with it, whoosh! Instant waterworks. I tested it out, on myself first. And yeah, I got drenched. My dog looked at me like I had completely lost my mind. But it worked. Oh, did it work. By the time I was done, my trash can looked completely normal from the outside. Ordinary, innocent, but hidden. Inside was my masterpiece, my trap, my sweet revenge. And as I stood there in the driveway, watching water drip from my shirt after my final test run, I couldn't help but smile. Trash day was coming soon. And this time, it wasn't going to be my can lying on the ground. This time, it was Karen's pride. Finally, trash day rolled around, the day I'd been waiting for. My masterpiece, the Karen-proof trash defense system 3000, was ready for its first mission. I set the can out by the curb, acting casual, but inside, I was buzzing like a kid on Christmas morning. To sell it, I made sure everything looked completely normal. The can wasn't suspicious at all, just your everyday, ordinary bin waiting for pickup. I even put a couple bags of garbage inside so it didn't look too new. The sprinklers and motion sensor were hidden perfectly. Then, I retreated inside, brewed myself a nice hot coffee, and stationed myself by the front window. Stakeout mode. The garbage truck came and went. I waited. My eyes flicked between the clock and the street. And then, right on cue, I saw her. Karen. There she was, marching down the sidewalk like a general inspecting her troops, sunglasses gleaming, clipboard tucked under her arm, and that little yappy dog tugging at the leash. She didn't even hesitate. She didn't look around to see if anyone was watching. She just beelined straight toward my trash can. My heart started pounding. This was it. Showtime. She reached out with one hand, grabbed the handle, and gave it her signature shove. The move she had practiced a dozen times before. Only this time, whoosh! Blast of water erupted from the can, shooting out in every direction like a geyser. Karen let out a shriek so loud, I'm pretty sure dogs 3 streets over started barking. Her sunglasses flew off, her hair flattened instantly, and her fancy blouse clung to her like wet tissue paper. The dog went berserk, yanking free of the leash and bolting across the street. Karen tried to chase after it, but every step she took just put her back in range of the sprinkler. Whoosh! Whoosh! More water! She looked like she was trapped in her own personal rain cloud. I nearly spit out my coffee from laughing so hard. But it got better, because I wasn't the only one watching. My neighbor 2 houses down was mowing his lawn, and he actually stopped, leaned on his mower, and started clapping. Another neighbor came out onto their porch and yelled, "About time somebody did." "Something!" Karen was flailing, soaking wet, sputtering like an angry cat in a bathtub. She finally managed to grab her runaway dog, drag it back across the street, and stomp home, dripping all the way, her shoes squishing with every furious step. And the best part? She didn't even try to cover it up. She didn't pretend nothing happened. She marched past everyone, muttering about lawsuits and unacceptable behavior. But you could see it on her face. Pure defeat. For the first time ever, Karen had been outsmarted by a trash can. And me? Oh, I sat back in my chair, sipped my coffee, and thought, sweet, sweet victory. Trash day had never felt so good. After that glorious trash day, life on my street felt different, quieter, almost peaceful. For weeks, my trash can stood tall and proud, untouched and unbothered. No more mystery, accidents, no more chasing it down the street in my socks, while the neighbors chuckled. For the first time in months, trash day felt normal again. And it wasn't just me who noticed the change. My neighbors, the ones who had seen Karen's watery meltdown, suddenly started treating me like some kind of local hero. The guy down the street who clapped during the sprinkler incident, he gave me a thumbs up every time he saw me rolling the bin back up my driveway. Another neighbor stopped me on my evening walk just to say, "Thank you. We've all wanted to put her in her place for years." It turns out I wasn't the only one she had been policing. She had been nagging people about their lawns, about their mailboxes, even about the color of their shutters. But I was the one who finally gave her a taste of her own medicine. Or in this case, a blast of cold hose water. The funniest part, though? Karen never mentioned it again. Not once. And that woman loved to complain. Normally, she'd send out mass HOA emails about every tiny violation. But about this? Radio silence. I think deep down, she knew if she brought it up, she'd have to admit what happened. And admitting she got drenched by a booby-trapped trash can wasn't exactly the kind of story that screamed respectable HOA leader. Even her dog had changed. Remember how that little fluffball used to bark at me every time I stepped outside? Now, whenever they walked past my house, it would pull on the leash and cross the street, like it was saying, "Nope, not going near. The splash zone again." Honestly, I think the dog was smarter than Karen. And me? I learned something valuable through all this. Sometimes dealing with difficult people isn't about yelling, arguing, or sending angry letters. That's what they want. They feed off drama. The real trick is to stay calm, get creative, and let them trip over their own bad behavior. Or, let them walk straight into a motion sensor sprinkler. Same result. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should go out and booby-trap everything in your yard. But if you've got a Karen in your life, remember this. You don't always need to fight fire with fire. Sometimes, you fight Karen with water, and I have to say, victory. Victory never smelled so sweet. Well, okay. It smelled a little like garbage bags because, trash can. But still, sweet, sweet victory. So the next time trash day rolls around, I roll my bin out with a little extra pride. Because that thing isn't just a trash can anymore. It's a symbol, a reminder. Proof that sometimes the underdog wins and the Karen loses. And if you ever hear someone say, "It's just a trash can," oh no. In my neighborhood, it's a legend. Now, what do you think? Did I go too far? Or did Karen get exactly what she deserved? Let me know down in the comments. I read every single one. And hey, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more crazy neighbor stories just like this one. Hit the bell so you don't miss the next battle. Because trust me, in this neighborhood, the drama is never over.